Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love light. I just wanted to kind of go into a little bit of flow and also just a really brief energy update. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. If you've watched these videos before, thank you. And thank you for sharing them. Thank you for donating your time to be in this energy share. And I'm appreciative of all of you guys and anybody who's new to this channel. Thank you for taking your time to tune in and just mostly being open to the expression that I'm here to share in my own way. We're all here sharing in our own expression, and sometimes it can be lonely because of that. We sometimes are looking for other people to substantiate our reality. We're looking for other people to validate and make what we're doing substantial, or make us feel like what we're doing is the right thing to do, or we're on the right track. And I keep being shown by my guides that we're all on our own track. And so sometimes that can feel or be misinterpreted as lonely or isolated. But in actuality, it's only because each and every one of us is an individual having our own individual experience. And while others may be able to feel similarly and express similarly in their own way, no two of us are identical. Even though we may have a twin flame, or we may have some soul family counterparts that are almost identical, oftentimes there are huge differences in our approach or our perspectives or how we interpret, how we share messages. And that's what is so powerful, because it's in this diversity in unification. It's this ability to accept that beautiful range. And it does feel lonely at times, because that's part of the game, is what I'm hearing. The lesson, if we want to call it that, just the experience, is to experience what being alone feels like. So here we are feeling that separation and recognizing that that isn't real. Once we recognize that that separation isn't really real, we keep coming back to finding more people in our soul family to help keep us on track, right? To help uplift our spirit and help us on this journey. And that's what we're all doing for each other. Some of the things that have been coming up, and you guys are going to hear me share this a lot, I think, moving forward. I've really been called to address a lot more videos based around cancer. Cancer's been something that's happened in my family. It's been prevalent for years, but now I'm witnessing it in everyone's lives. I almost feel strongly that anybody watching this video, maybe 90% of the viewers, probably are either experiencing it themselves or have someone that they know who is experiencing it. And this is causing a huge ripple effect on our actual timelines. It's causing a massive surge of grief, but also compassion, and also the ability to really come together to support one another and to find solutions that are beyond what maybe we have been told are available to us. And that's what I'm hoping to offer. I've already done a video on it. If you feel called to go back and watch that video, I think it says cancer in the title. But I'm hoping in the next few months, maybe this summer, to do some more detailed videos on what the guides have to share, some holistic approaches, and just break that down. So that's coming. It's in the works. In the meantime, you can go back and check out the one I shared in regards to what we did and what my husband did that was successful for him. For now, right? Who's to say there's these things depending on how we manifest in our reality, which is a whole other video. A lot of people are having memories coming back. People that we wouldn't expect are having experiences, and they're seeking out those of us who've already had these experiences. I've got people coming to me asking about meditation that have never asked about meditation before. I have people coming and asking me about multidimensionality. I have friends who are having the same thing going on in their lives. A lot more people, I've been having memories of my own out of body experiences thanks to my brain spotting session with my dear friend Jess and some of the conversations I've had with Candace that have opened up my awareness and are helping me to process some childhood trauma from these experiences. Sometimes we have these massive Kundalini activations, OBEs, NDEs. Some people are taken, to other realms, whatever it might be, and we don't realize it. I didn't realize it, but it can create trauma if we're in a place of fear, which can just sometimes be unknowingness when it happens. So that's been part of my track, is to let go of all that fear and to remember some of those journeys and acknowledge the impact that those have had in my reality. So that's a whole other can of worms, but maybe I'll go there at a different time. All in all, there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on, but it seems like there's even more going on. And what I've been called to share is that is what the juice is. Our ability to come together and hold our compassion for this journey, for ourselves, for each other, and to get further and further away from separateness. And that's a play on words. When we're separate, we're pulling away from the unity and oneness. It's a distortion, but still maintaining our sovereignty, maintaining our diversity and our uniqueness is part of the journey. And that is challenging because I see this need for people to be unique, yet also judge others for not necessarily being as unique as them. Or I see people who need to be unique and then their way is the only way. Or people who think they're very special, which we're all special, yet they must have a particular religious or political belief system in order to really be sovereign. I mean, there's a lot of, is it juxtapositions, I guess, a lot of dichotomy in what we're witnessing, and it's polarization. And a lot of people have been saying for a really long time, myself included, this is what's only going to continue to happen. And it gives us the ability to stretch apart from ourselves, get as far away as we can, and then bounce back into, well, guess we really couldn't. It's like, what's that incredible Stretch Armstrong? Guess we really are stuck together, right? Because we're part of a collective soup where we're never really separate, even though we are all unique in our own journey. So it's sticky right now. It's kind of crunchy. It's crunch time. But there's this underlying sense of beautiful unification and restoration of our origination and original template structure and tempo through the tempest. So this is all part of unification, even though it feels difficult sometimes to, when I say unification, I'm playing with this, like the unification with the soup or the one source that we're all, and I could use this flower as an example, the ripples and the flower, and this flower is growing out of water. It's not separate from the lily pad. It needs that in order to survive. And it becomes one with that environment. And we are all living in this same environment, expressing ourselves as, some are expressing ourselves as purple, some of our, we're expressing ourselves as white, yellow, whatever it might be. Some of us are the lily pad, some of us are the flower, some of us are the water, but we're all of those things. Anyways, all right, let me go in a little flow. I think I wanted to cover some more things, but, the sweetness of life. So while these impactful, fearful, frustrating, And sometimes there's grieving going on. People are losing loved ones. People are fearful of losing loved ones. People are fearful for themselves to potentially become ill or experience certain things that they're witnessing other people are experiencing. So it's bringing up fear in our own psyche. And that's one of the biggest messages that's been coming up over and over again is, can we feel that fear and acknowledge it and move through it so that we can be in full support? And the interesting word that I keep hearing is, well, I'm just gonna go into flow. So that was the message, right? How this is natural. We're seeing a reflection in us of some of our own fears, our fear of death, our fear of not being able to be there for a loved one, our fear of being alone, our fear of whatever it might be. It's all coming up for us to integrate. So I just wanted to kind of share, that was one of the messages, big messages that's been coming through. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little channeling. And I'm asking this to be, whatever's most relevant and helpful for the collective right now in this experience. When I say that, I'm hearing so many different topics. Timeline distortions, compassion, curiosity, a new framework, new reality, new political system. Like, where do we want to go? We'll go with some light language. Ikuahe ishikuni wa et ishu ma yetiti wa kuya he shia mokoen. Huni wa e shiki a titi a ine ikuha ishimakoe ne uoka ini titi wushini. Mai ua na kishishi wua e te aha nene shu makae ne shu e ne te. We are being invited to feel a larger scope of feeling. Move through the sense of isolation that many of us are feeling and move into a deeper transparency. And this is a play on words. I'm seeing like parent, when you're a parent. Let me just pause this for a moment. So in transparency, transparent is allowing light to pass through so that objects behind can be distinctly seen. So I think that was really, but there's more to this, right? So easy to perceive or detect, and having thoughts, feelings, or motives that are easily perceived. So let's go back to this is on dictionary off the internets. But I really felt like that's valuable because sometimes we think of transparent as you can see through it. But I love that if you look at the actual definition, it's allowing light to pass through so that the objects behind can be distinctly seen. And also perceived. So there's so many different directions we could go with this because we've asked for that. Well, that means more light. And that means being able to see things better and perceive things better. And it means we get to see what's behind those things that have been hidden. And sometimes that is uncomfortable and difficult. Let's see what's going on here with my light. My light. It's difficult for some people to see that. And sometimes we're seeing it and we're looking at it going, what is that, right? Let me pause for a minute again. It's got really dark in my room. So this can bring up fear. Being able to see what's behind all of it can sometimes be a little scary. And I just wanted to kind of share that as well. Okay, let's get back into flow. And as we allow ourselves to see through we begin to bend, we begin to shift, we begin to flow and merge with what it is that we are truly within, this medium, if you will, that the light is actually shining through to then allow us to see more. So, as we allow ourselves to bend, oh, I'm seeing bending light benders. There becomes a new definitive definition defining quality of light. There begins to become a new definition of what it means to perceive light. There begins to grow a new perception, like a plant who has been exposed to more light. It grows faster, it grows stronger, it becomes more resilient. And the soil from which, or I'm hearing from whence it came before, also takes on a new glow in this metamorphosis. And as the soil shifts and adapts to the particles that are now available to assist in its adaptation, it responds differently to this particular focal point. I'm playing with this for a moment. For as the heat is focalized inside the body and inside the earth realms, there becomes a substantial molecular exchange that changes how it is that we exchange and perceive information. And we have spoken on this, about this before, yet this topic is important, and we implore you to implore more, to ask more questions about the structure of reality. For the density that was here is now moving. There is an exchange happening, a chemical abundance of nutrients that are shifting the patterns in which the density was born, if you will, in which the density was molded and created from. Therefore, we begin to see the distortions in the soil. We begin to see what was underneath that held certain components together. This can also create fear. There have been layers upon layers upon layers of fear that have been implanted into the social structure of our entire reality. That which feeds the system, if you will, of growth is completely immersed and based upon fear. It encapsulates and encompasses the entire structure. Like I'm seeing lattice, you know, if you're building lattice, there's actually that design in which it grows up. You can't see the lattice behind it. All you can see are the plants, but it's grown over it, become overgrown. I'm also seeing, there was a video that I shared on Instagram, and I can't remember who. Let me just give them a real quick. Okay, so it's We the Aether. We the Aether. WETHER. And they have this really cool video. I shared it on my story. I don't always share stuff on social media because I get sucked in to social media just like a lot of other people do. But they were showing fleas in a jar, and they put these fleas in a jar. They were trying to get out of the jar. They put them, which is super creepy, right? Ugh, a bunch of fleas in a jar. But they closed it up, and I think they left the fleas in there for 3 days. And then once they opened the lid, the fleas didn't try to get out anymore because they've been conditioned to only be in that jar for those 3 days. And after that, it was like, okay, we don't have, and that's kind of the interpretation of what I'm seeing our reality. A lot of the things I've been shown is that our reality is much bigger than what we've been told. Our version that we've been operating from seems to be this big, but it's actually this big. And so there's been this limited perception of our reality because of what we've been programmed. And when I say programmed, it's what we've been taught at a young age in school. I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk a little bit about some health videos. It's not because I was thinking about doctors, and I'm going to say this again. Doctors know a lot, but they're only trained, for the most part, a lot of doctors, they're basing their education from a system that is based off of books that were written by certain people who adhered to a particular program and methodology that does work. It helps and continues to help all of us, humanity. But to go outside of those particular studies, books, and methodologies is not something that's necessarily supported, mostly because there haven't been enough, in some cases, funds put towards these other methodologies. So the funding, the funneling keeps going to support the old learning systems. And then there's been small branches from there over the years. But the medical society is hesitant to share certain pieces of information that are not fully supported by the doctrines, by the doctrination, by that which has been written up as the answer, the key, right? So this is the key we're following, and we're not going to go out of that. And that's not to say that that isn't changing. There's a lot of doctors who are thinking outside of the box, but for a long time, that wasn't necessarily the case. And so everything is shifting, everything is changing. And so this is something that many of us are being called to embrace so that we are able to then grow at a faster pace, and not, the only thing that's holding us back from what I'm being shown at this point is our belief that we are only in that jar, right? So our belief about whatever our belief is about, can we stretch our imagination beyond the confines, beyond the defining limitations, beyond the definition of what our imagination can fit in? And so as we do this, we perceive more, we access more. And this allows us to consciously co-create together a much bigger piece of the jar, so to speak, of the puzzle. And this allows us to lay the grid work of the new, of the lattice work, of the structure that is co-creating a new template that allows us to grow at a faster pace. And in this, we harness more for the human race. We begin to erase that which no longer gives us a quantification, quantum communication programs that are no longer suitable for our, I'm just seeing so much. So it's not the idea of erasing our memory. It's basically like when you're writing out and being shown an algebra system, an equation, and you're writing it out with a piece of paper and a pencil, and you're erasing that and then writing in, oh, that's the answer. It's not that we're erasing everything as if it didn't exist, but in theory, we are erasing some things. Think of the Mandela effect, only in the sense that we're shifting timelines. So those they no longer sit in this particular part of our reality or landscape. Instead, they are more part of the old lattice work, and they were valuable for that time. But now it's time to allow that to dissolve and to unify in the new metric system. And this is a play on words. The new matrix, the new matrices, the new matricing. Like, we are the co-creators singing this into reality, into sound and geometry and all of that. And so we are encouraged, and we say we are encouraged as humanity. We are encouraged with humanity. We are encouraged by humanity. And the we that is speaking this now is you and me, and those of us that compile or uh, take part in the many parts of the whole pie, so to speak, the whole kit and caboodle. For we are all part of a unified field. And within this, we have access to the multidimensionality and the many facets that we are all part of. And this includes our galactic community, our ancestry tree. It includes all pieces of this entirety, of the entire picture that we are all watching, creating, weaving with, drawing out, painting, if you will, as we unify in this field together. And so we can use the medium in many different ways. We are the medium, and we have talked about this before. You can use electronics as your medium, and you can use a paintbrush as your medium, and you can use mathematics as your medium, and you can use sound and song and voice and writing and letters and words and art and dance. There is no limit, only that which you are limited in believing that you have access to. And for some, they have a stronger suit, if you will, for certain mediums than others. And that will encourage others to pick up the pace in those particular fields. And rather than, I'm hearing race against each other, it's a coming together and racing together. Like, let's play. I'll do this one, you do that one. It's working together. And this is so important because the polarization has become so big. In one sense of the word, I'm seeing a crevice, like not the chalice, but the valley, if you will, the gorge, has become so deep that there are many who think that this can never be unified. Yet back to what we said earlier, and we are seeing humanity come together behind the scenes. And this goes a little bit back to transparency. We see the separation. We see what has caused the separation. We see the scales and how out of balance this may have been before. And this out of balance is part of what created this schism, is what I was trying to say earlier, chasm. And this can be very deflating at times. We feel deflated. We feel as if we are unable to bring this back together. There is no fixing this broken wheel. Yet we would venture to say there is no more wheel. The wheels, what's that song? Rocket till the wheels fall off. Hey. I'm basically being shown that it's not the same wheel. It's time, right? It's different. I'm being shown it's got a different shape. It's got a different way of interacting. Like, it's not the same old wooden wheel. That's why it's not working. So rather than trying to put wheels back on an automobile that no longer actually require a wheel, we would venture, I'm seeing like a hovercraft, like we're trying to put tires on this hovercraft. We are beyond that. Yet many of us are still used to doing that. I'm seeing being shown like that's our job. So our job as a mechanic is to put tires on a car, put tires on a car. Okay, the car is slightly different. We're going to change the tire. And it's been over and over again. And all of a sudden, it's like, where's the tire? Or here's the tire, where's the vehicle? Or wait a minute, this doesn't fit anymore. Now what do I do? And people are going to be called to drop what they've been doing entirely because the need for that particular job, that need for that particular program, the need for that particular belief structure, whatever it is, it doesn't exist anymore. It's all of a sudden becomes non-existent, erased. The Mandela effect. It becomes unnecessary for the greater growth. And this will create fear in many different people because sometimes that is their job. That is their structure that they've always known. And in some cases, this will, I'm seeing, require a deep shift in how they do everything. Some people will not wish to continue because they are unable to process that, and they've perhaps realized that their journey has come to an end. Others will not recognize that they are doing the same thing, and they will continue to pick up, I'm seeing, put a square around wheel and a square peg, or whatever it's called. So we will end on this note. There are many who are just trying to stay afloat. There are many who are piecing together. I'm being shown a raft, but they're already standing in the water. Like they're standing in the water, but they're trying to put together this raft, and they don't realize they're already on shore. We use a lot of these metaphors because they are important to recognize that each one of us has access and abilities to walk through an open door. Many of us are trying to measure the door. Many of us are trying to analyze where the door leads. Many of us are looking at the doorknob, wondering if we should reach out and grab it. And many of us have already walked through the door, and we are not aware that the door was even accessed in the first place. And many of us are looking at around saying, what door? Isn't everything accessible? And each and every one of us carries a different perspective, perceived vision and version of reality, and how it is that we are achieving our goals, how it is, what goals we wish to achieve, what goals really even are, why we should have goals, what is a goal, and so on and so forth. So be conscientious as much as possible in the realization that we are all truly going through something spectacular. And as spectacular as this may sound or seem, it doesn't always feel spectacular when we are expanding and pushing out at the seams, when we are feeling too big for our britches, when we are feeling too big in order to, we don't fit in anywhere. And so it can be uncomfortable. And many of us are going through evil and shake up in our very existence. You may be looking at someone across the room from you who seems fine, but inside they are having a massive human crisis. They are experiencing something huge in their life, and they are unable to process it, and they aren't sure how to ask for help. Invariably, we will be coming up along these fellow humans and counterparts, and we are here to offer our services and be offered our services in return. This is something that